Welcome to my channel. I hope you like and subscribe, and thank you so much for watching. In today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how to crochet this basic little cardigan sweater, coat or jacket for little girls and boys between 3 and 6 months old. It's very easy to make. I'd say that it's ideal for beginners, so I hope you like it. Now, the little jacket that we're going to make in the tutorial, like I said, is for 3 to 6 months old, but you can easily make it smaller or bigger. I'd say from a newborn size and up to 24 months. In the information box below, I'll go ahead and leave you some information on how you can easily make it smaller or bigger. I will also leave links to tutorials already in my channel of little hats, baby booties, and baby pants if you want to complete the set. And as always, if you prefer a written pattern, check out my Etsy shop. I'll leave a link to my Etsy shop up here on the right hand side and in the information box below. Thank you so much for your support. Now, to make this little sweater, this is the yarn that I used. This is DK weight yarn, but you can also use any number 3 yarn or 8 ply. For the 3 to 6 month size, I used a total of 95 grams. Depending on the size that you make, you may need less or more. You will also need 5 buttons. These are 13 millimeter size, but depending on the hook size that you're using, you can use 13, 14, or even 15 millimeter size. Okay, without further say, let's get started. But don't forget to subscribe, activate the notifications bell, and remember, all of my tutorials are always in English and in Spanish. Thank you so much for watching. To begin, I'll be using this 3.5 millimeter crochet hook. This is a US size 6 hook, and today I'm using this DK weight yarn. You can also use any number 3 yarn or 8 ply. At the beginning of the video, I showed you the yarn that I'm using, and I told you how much yarn we're going to need for the size that we're making here in this tutorial. So here, to begin, I have 46 chains. This chain without stretching, it's measuring about 9.5 inches, which is about 24 centimeters. Now, if your chain is off by 1 or 2 centimeters, it's okay. Continue with the first row. So here, to begin, into the 4th chain from the hook, 1, 2, 3, 4. Into this 4th chain, I'm going to make a double crochet. Now, these 3 chains here counts as the first double crochet. So in total, I have 2. I'm going to make 6 double crochets here. So into the next chain, I'm going to make the next double crochet. So that's 3. Into the next, a double crochet, that's 4. Into the next, that's 5. And into the next, 6. Here I have 6 double crochets, including the 3 chains. This here will be the first front panel. Now, to make the first corner, chain 1. Into the next 10 chains, I'm going to make 1 double crochet. This is going to be for the sleeves, so that's 1, 2, 3, and so on until you have 10 double crochets. Here, before I continue, I'm going to place a stitch marker to mark this corner, and I'm going to do the same thing on each corner, because in the next row, this is where, in the chain space, that is where we're going to be increasing for each row. Continue, finish making these 10 double crochets. I'll come back and show you what we need to do next. I finished making these 10 double crochets for the first sleeve. Here's the first corner, then I made 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Now for the second corner, chain 1, and into the next 12 chains, I'm going to make 1 double crochet. This is going to be for the back side. So into the next chain, make the first double crochet, but before you continue, place a stitch marker to mark the second corner. Now continue and finish making these 12 double crochets for the back side. I'll come back and show you what we need to do next. I finished making these 12 double crochets for the back side. Here is the second corner. Then we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 double crochets. Now to make the third corner, chain 1, and into the next 10 chains, make 1 double crochet. This is going to be for the second sleeve. But before I continue, I'm going to mark this third corner. And now into the next chain, again make a double crochet until you have 10 double crochets. Continue, make these 10 double crochets. I'll come back and show you what we need to do next. I finished making these 10 double crochets for the second sleeve. Here's the third corner. Then we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Now chain 1, this is the 4th corner, and here I have 6 chains left. So into the next chain here, make a double crochet. This here is going to be for the 2nd front panel. Before I continue, I'm going to place a stitch marker to mark the 4th corner. I have 2 into the next, that's 3, 4, 5, 6. And here is the first row with a total of 44 double crochets. Each one of the front panels has 6 double crochets. Remember that here on this side I have the 3 chains, which counts as a double crochet. Each one of the sleeves has 10, and for the back side I have 12. So that's a total of 44 double crochets at the end of this first row. Now for the second row, I'm going to chain 2. These 2 chains will never count as a stitch. They're just there so that when we finish the yoke, this part here is nice and straight. Now, beginning on top of the first double crochet and into each one of these double crochets, I'm going to make a double crochet until I come to the first corner. So beginning on top of the first, make a double crochet, that's 1. On top of the next, that's 2. On top of the next, that's 3, 4, 5, 6. Now in the chain space of this first corner, I'm going to make a V-stitch. So make a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Bring back the stitch marker to mark this corner. And now I'm going to continue and do the same thing. I'm going to make 1 double crochet for each one of these 10 double crochets. So beginning on top of the next, make a double crochet. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now in the chain space of the second corner, do the same thing I did in the first corner. You're going to make a V-stitch. So insert your hook in the chain space and make a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Now make sure you return the stitch marker to mark the corner and continue along and work 1 double crochet for each one of the next 12 double crochets until you come to the third corner, where you're going to do exactly the same thing I did here. You're going to make a V-stitch and then continue and work the next 10 double crochets and then make the fourth corner. Just make a V-stitch in the chain space and then finish here with these last 6 double crochets. So go ahead and finish this second row. I'll come back and show you what we need to do next. I'm here at the end of this second row. Now to make the last double crochet, I just went into this third chain and did the last double crochet. Now at the end of this second row, I have a total of 52 double crochets. Each one of the front panels has 7 stitches. Each one of the sleeves has 12 stitches, and for the back side I have 14 stitches. So that's a total of 52 double crochets. Now for row 3, we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to chain 2 and turn. Beginning on top of the first double crochet, make the first double crochet and continue making 1 double crochet for each stitch until you come to the first corner. So here I have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Remove the stitch marker and into this chain space now make a V-stitch. double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Make sure to always return your stitch marker to mark the corner. And now all you're going to do is just continue and work 1 double crochet for each one of these stitches for the sleeve until you come to the second corner, where you're going to do exactly the same thing I did here, a V-stitch, and then continue along and do the same thing for each corner. So continue, finish this third row, and I'll meet you at the end. I finished the third row. At the end of this third row, I have a total of 60 double crochets. Now each one of the front panels has 8 double crochets. Each one of the sleeves has 14, and for the back side I have 16. So that's a total of 60 double crochets at the end of this third row. Now for row 4, chain 2 and turn. Here I'm going to make 1 double crochet for each one of these stitches for the first front panel. On top of the first one, make a double crochet, that's 1, into the next, that's 2, 8. Now in the chain space of each corner, you're going to make a V-stitch. So make a double crochet, 1 chain, double crochet. Return the stitch marker and continue making 1 double crochet for each one of these double crochets. And when you come to each one of the corners, you're just going to make a V-stitch. Continue, finish this 4th row. I'll meet you at the end. I finished the 4th row. At the end of this row, I have a total of 68 double crochets. Each one of the front panels has 9 stitches. Each one of the sleeves has 16, and for the back side, I have 18. Now for row 5, we're going to repeat the same thing. Chain 2, turn. Beginning on top of the first double crochet, make a double crochet, that's 1, 9. Now into each one of the corners, you're going to make a V-stitch. And then continue and do the same thing. 1 double crochet for each one of the stitches, and then on each corner, repeat the same thing, a V-stitch. Continue, finish this 5th row. I'll meet you at the end. I finished the 5th row. At the end of this row, I have a total of 76 double crochets. Each one of the front panels has 10. Each one of the sleeves has 18, and for the back side I have 20. So that's a total of 76 double crochets at the end of this 5th row. Now for row 6, chain 2 and turn. Beginning on top of the first double crochet, make a double crochet. That's 1, 2, 10. Now in this row, we're going to change the way that we work the corners. Instead of making a V-stitch, we're going to make the following. We're going to make 2 double crochets, 1 chain, 2 double crochets. So in this row, we're going to increase by 16 stitches instead of 8. That's how you're going to work each corner. Now just continue along and work 1 double crochet for each stitch. And when you come to the corners, repeat the same thing I did here. 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets. Go ahead and finish this 6th row. I'll meet you at the end. I finished making the 6th row. At the end of this row, I have 92 double crochets. Each one of the front panels has 12 stitches. Each one of the sleeves has 22. And for the back side, I have 24 stitches. So that's a total of 92 stitches at the end of this 6th row. Now for row 7, we're going to repeat the same thing we did in row 6. So chain 2 and beginning on top of the first stitch, make a double crochet, that's 1, 12. 12. Now remove the stitch marker. In the chain space of each corner, you're going to make 2 double crochets, 1 chain, 2 double crochets. And now you're just going to continue and work 1 double crochet for each one of the stitches until you come to the corners where you're going to do exactly the same thing. 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets on each corner. Continue and finish this 7th row. I'll meet you at the end. I finished the 7th row. At the end of this row, I have a total of 108 stitches. Each one of the front panels has 14. Each one of the sleeves has 26, and for the back side I have 28. Now for row 8, we're going to do the same thing. Chain 2 and turn. Beginning on top of the first double crochet, make a double crochet. That's 1, 14. Now for each corner you're going to make 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets. And that's how you're going to work each one of the corners. So continue, finish this 8th row. I will meet you here at the end. I finished making the 8th row. At the end of the 8th row, I have a total of 124 stitches. Each one of the front panels has 16 stitches. Each one of the sleeves has 30 stitches. And for the back side, I have 32 stitches. Let me give you the yoke measurement here. Right across, it's measuring about 11 centimeters, which is about 4.25 inches. Now, the last row of the yoke, row 8, was worked on the right side. So I have placed a stitch marker to mark the front of the little sweater. From now on, this is going to be the wrong side. So make sure you place a stitch marker to mark the front. Again, row 8 of the yoke was worked on the right side. Row 1 of the body, which is where we're going to separate the sleeves, is going to be worked on the wrong side. So here, chain 2 and turn. Now, in this first row, all I'm going to do is just make 1 double crochet for each one of these 16 stitches for the front panel. Beginning on top of the first double crochet, make a double crochet and 1 double crochet on each one of these stitches for the front panel. I will meet you right here to show you how we're going to separate the first sleeve. I finished making these 16 double crochets for this first front panel. Now in the chain space of this first corner, make 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3. So now for this front panel, I have 19 double crochets. To separate the first sleeve, I'm going to chain 4. Now I'm only going to add 4 chains. If you want to add more chains to add to the chest measurement, you can. There is no stitch multiple, so you can add as many chains as you like. Now to separate the first sleeve, skip these 30 double crochets, and in the chain space of the second corner, make 3 double crochets. Now continue along the back side and work 1 double crochet for each stitch until you come to the third corner. I will meet you right here to show you how we're going to separate the second sleeve. I finished making these double crochets for the back side. In the corner here, the third corner, I did 3 double crochets. So here for the back side, I have a total of 38 double crochets. I have 32 stitches plus 3 plus 3, that's 38 double crochets for the back side. Now to separate the second sleeve, make 4 chains, skip these 30 double crochets, and into the fourth corner, make 3 double crochets. Now I'm going to continue and make 1 double crochet for each one of these stitches here until I finish the first row. I finished the first row of the body. This first row was worked on the wrong side. In this row, we have separated the sleeves. Each one of the front panels has 19 double crochets. For the back side, I have 38 double crochets, and under each sleeve, I have 4 chains. So that's a total of 84 stitches, including the chains. Now, for row 2, I'm going to chain 2 and turn. Beginning on top of the first double crochet, make a double crochet and continue like this, just making 1 double crochet for each one of these stitches until you come here under the sleeve where we have these 4 chains. I will meet you right here to show you what we need to do next. I finished making these 19 double crochets for the first front panel. Now here under the sleeve, this is what we're going to do. Into the first chain, make 2 double crochets. In the second chain, same thing, 2 double crochets. In the third chain, same thing, 2 double crochets. And in the fourth chain, 2 double crochets. And this is how we're going to work these chains under the sleeve. Now I'm going to continue and work 1 double crochet for each one of these 38 double crochets for the back side until I come to the chains that are under the second sleeve. Once there, I'm going to do the same thing I did here, 2 double crochets on each chain, and then continue and finish the second front panel. I will meet you at the end of this second row. I finished the second row. I have a total of 92 double crochets. Now for row 3, chain 2 and turn. Now beginning on top of the first double crochet, make a double crochet and a double crochet into each one of these stitches. For this row and from here on, this is all I'm going to do. It's just 1 double crochet for each stitch, and at the end of each row I'm always going to have 92 stitches. Continue, finish this third row. I will meet you at the end. I finished the third row. At the end of this row, I have 92 double crochets. The third row was worked on the wrong side. Now for row 4, chain 2 and turn. Beginning on top of the first double crochet, make a double crochet and 1 double crochet on top of each one of these stitches, so that at the end of each row from here on, we have 92 stitches. From here on, we're going to repeat the third row over and over until we have the measurement for the length of the sweater. Now, I'm not sure how many rows that's going to be, but continue watching. I will let you know exactly how many rows I'm going to do. If you want to make yours longer or shorter, you can easily adjust the number of rows that you can do here for the body of the sweater. So continue like this and continue watching. I will let you know how many rows I'm going to do, so I will meet you at the end of that row. I'm almost done with the body of the little sweater. Counting from the first row where we separated the sleeves, I have 14 rows. There's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 rows. Row 14 was worked on the right side, and as it is, from the top of the shoulder to the end here, it's measuring about 25 centimeters, which is about 9 7/8 of an inch. Now we're going to work the hem. So to do this, row 15 is the first row for the hem here, and it's going to be worked on the wrong side. So here, chain 2 and turn. Beginning on top of the first double crochet, make a half double crochet. Now into the next double crochet, which is the second double crochet, counting from the beginning, make a front post half double crochet, back post half double crochet, front post half double crochet, back post half double crochet into the next, and so on. This is how I'm going to work row 15, which is the first row here for the hem. Continue. I will meet you here at the end to show you how we're going to finish this row. I'm here at the end of row 15. Now to finish, go on top of the last stitch and make a half double crochet. And this is how I finish row 15 with a total of 92 half double crochets. Now for row 16 and 17, we're going to repeat the same thing. I'm going to chain 2 and turn, always beginning on top of the first stitch, make a half double crochet. And now we're going to work these stitches exactly how they are. This next stitch is a front post, so make a front post half double crochet. The next one is a back post, make a back post half double crochet, front post half double crochet, back post half double crochet into the next, and so on. This is how I'm going to continue for row 16. At the end of row 16, on top of the last stitch, right here, make a half double crochet, chain 2, turn, and then repeat the same thing for row 17. Here I'm going to make 3 rows of front post and back post half double crochets. If you have a hard time making front post stitches and back post stitches, you can always change this part, maybe do single crochets, 3 or 4 rows of single crochets and finish it that way. But remember that you can always slow the tutorial by tapping your screen, and right here you will see a little gear. Tap on that and you can always adjust the speed of the tutorial so it goes slower, especially the areas that you don't know how to make, or you can always search on YouTube. Finish these 3 rows and then I'll come back and show you what we need to do next. I finished making the hem. I did a total of 3 rows, row 15, 16, and 17. Row 17 was worked on the wrong side, so we're going to continue along this side, again on the wrong side. So here to begin, to finish row 17 of the hem, I just did a half double crochet on top of the last stitch. Now chain 1 and into this last half double crochet that I did into that space, make a half double crochet. At the end of the next row, make a half double crochet, and at the end of the next row, a half double crochet. So I have 1 half double crochet for each row of the hem. At the end of the next row, in the chain 2, make 1. Now at the end of the next row, it's a double crochet at the end. Into that space, make 2 half double crochets. At the end of the next row, in the chain 2, make 1. At the end of the next row, make 2 half double crochets, 1 at the end of the next, then 2 at the end of the next, and so on. 2, 1, 2, 1, all the way to the top here of the yoke. I will meet you right here to show you what we need to do next. I'm here at the end of the first row for the front panel. This row is being worked from the wrong side. Now here at the end, into the chain, right here, right on top, make 1 half double crochet. So here I have a total of 37 half double crochets. If you have 1 or 2 stitches less or more, it's okay. The important thing is that when you do the second front panel, you have the same number of stitches. Now to continue with row 2, I'm going to chain 1 and turn. Beginning on top of the first half double crochet, make a half double crochet. Now we're going to do front post and back post half double crochets just like we did here for the hem. So beginning into the second half double crochet, make a front post half double crochet. Into the next, back post half double crochet, front post half double crochet into the next, back post half double crochet into the next, and so on. Continue for the second row. I'll meet you here at the end. I'm here at the end of the second row, this first front panel. Now here at the end on top of the last stitch, make a half double crochet, and this is how I finished the second row with 37 stitches. Now for row 3, chain 1 and turn. Beginning on top of the first stitch, make a half double crochet. Now here we're going to work these stitches exactly how they are. This first stitch here is a back post, so make a back post half double crochet. Next one, front post half double crochet, back post half double crochet, front post half double crochet into the next, and so on. Continue like this to the end of this third row. this third row is being worked on the wrong side. I will meet you right here to show you how we're going to work the neckline. I finished making the third row. Now here at the end, on top of the last stitch, I did a half double crochet. So this side is all done. Now this little sweater, you can make it for boys or girls. If you're making this for baby boys, then this is where you're going to make your buttonholes. I did not make any buttonholes on this side because the spaces in between the rows of half double crochets are big enough for buttons to fit through. You can use buttons that are 12, 13, 14, or even 15 millimeter size, depending on what hook size you're using. At the end of the video, I will let you know what size buttons I'm going to use. I'm making mine for a little girl, so my buttonholes are going to go here on this side, and this is where I'm going to place my buttons. For boys, it's the opposite. Like I said, this would be the side where the buttonholes would go, and this would be where you would put the buttons. Again, mine is going to be for girls. So I'm going to finish this side a little bit different, but you can make your little sweater for boy or girl. All you have to do when we do this other side is do exactly the same thing that I did here, these 3 rows of front post and back post half double crochets. But I'm going to show you here, the first row is going to be the same, then the second row is what's going to be a little bit different. So continue watching so you can see how we're going to do that. Now we're going to continue here along the neckline. So to do this here, I am going to chain 1 and right into this last half double crochet into this space, make a half double crochet into the next row of the front panel, the second row, make a half double crochet, and into the third row, which was the first row here of the front panel, make a half double crochet. So here I have 3 half double crochets because we had 3 rows for the front panel. Now on top of the next stitch, which is this stitch where I have these 2 stitches, so here right on top of this stitch, make a half double crochet. So here I have 4. Now you can see the next stitch here for the front panel. So beginning with this next stitch, start with a front post half double crochet. Next one, back post half double crochet. Next one, front post half double crochet, and so on. This is how I'm going to work the neckline. You can also make half double crochets into these chain stitches here at the top if you want to finish this part here a little bit different. Make sure that if you do front post and back post half double crochets, that they're nice and loose. We don't want the neckline to get too small. So make sure that you work these stitches nice and loose. Now continue. Let's finish the neckline, and then I'll come back and show you how we're going to work the second front panel. I finished making the neckline. I have a total of 47 stitches. From here up to here, there's 47. Now on top of the last stitch, these are the 3 chains. I did a half double crochet here at the end. Now we're going to continue here for the second front panel. This first row of the second front panel is going to be worked on the wrong side. Row 1 is going to be exactly how we did it here for the first front panel, and it's the same for boy or girl. The difference is going to come in the second row for girls. If you're making it for boy, all you're going to do is just do the same thing you did here for the first front panel. Row 1, which is this row here, is going to be the same for boy or girl, which is where we'd make half double crochets. Then for boy, row 2 and 3 are going to be front post and back post half double crochets, exactly how we did it here. So here again, this is the same for boy or girl. This is the first row of the second front panel. So chain 1 and beginning into this last space of the last stitch that I did, make a half double crochet. In the next row of the neckline here, make 2 half double crochets. In the next row, make 1, and in the next row, make 2. This part is the same as we did the first row for the first front panel. So 2, whoops, this is 1. So 2, 1, 2, 1, 2 at the end of the next row, and then 1 at the end of the next row, and so on. Continue until you come here to the end. Make sure that you have 37 half double crochets for this side, because that is the same number of stitches that I had for the first row of the first front panel. Continue or meet at the end of this first row for the second front panel. I finished making the first row for the second front panel. This first row is being worked on the wrong side. Now, if you're making this for a little boy and you don't want to make these shell stitches that I'm going to make in the next row, then all you need to do is just make row 2 and 3 exactly how we did them here. Just work front post and back post double crochets. You can always go back to this part here and do it exactly in the same way. Now, this is for girls, so for girls, this is what I'm going to do. In the second row, which is going to be worked on the right side, I'm going to chain 1 and turn. Now, notice that I have placed some stitch markers. At the end of the first row, I had 37 stitches. So here, chain 1 and turn. Counting from this first half double crochet, I have 1, 2, and into the third I placed a stitch marker. Then I counted 1, 2, 3. Into the fourth I placed a stitch marker. 1, 2, 3. Into the fourth a stitch marker. 1, 2, 3, and into the fourth a stitch marker, and so on until I got here to the top. Here at the end I have 2 stitches left. So make sure that you place your stitch markers every fourth stitch. For example, here there's a stitch marker here, and in between I have 1, 2, 3, and into the fourth stitch I have a stitch marker. Into these stitches here where I have the stitch marker is where I'm going to be making these fans or shells. So let's start here. So chain 1 and turn for the second row. Beginning on top of the first stitch right here, make a single crochet. Now skip 1 half double crochet and into the space of the next. Right here I'm going to remove this stitch marker right into the space, and not through the stitch here like this, because then this stitch is going to show right in the middle. So into the space right there, make a shell of 5 double crochets. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now skip 1 half double crochet and into the next, insert your hook and make a single crochet. Make sure that you go through both loops of this stitch so you're right in the center of the stitch like this. Now skip 1 stitch and into the next where I have the stitch marker. Remove this and again make a shell of 5 double crochets. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 double crochets, skip 1 stitch and into the next, make a single crochet. Again, skip 1 and into the next where I have the stitch marker, make a shell of 5 double crochets. Skip 1 and into the next, make a single crochet, remove the next stitch marker and make a fan or a shell. Skip 1 and into the next, a single crochet, remove the next stitch marker, so skip 1 and into the next, make your shell. Skip 1 and into the next, make a single crochet, remove the next stitch marker, so skip 1 and into the next, make another shell. skip one and into the next, make a single crochet, skip one and into the next, make a shell. Skip one and into the next, make a single crochet, skip one and into the next, a shell. Skip one and into the next, single crochet, skip one and into the next, which is the last stitch marker here, make the last shell. And right on top of the last stitch, make a single crochet. So this part here is done. I'm going to make one more row, but that is optional. If you want to leave it like this, it's all done. But if you want to make this next row, this is what I'm going to do. I am going to chain one and turn, and beginning on top of this first single crochet, make a single crochet. Now beginning with the first double crochet of this first shell, make a front post single crochet, front post single crochet into the next, and so on. We're just going to work front post single crochets. I'll show you how it looks from the front side here when I make the second one. So one front post single crochet for each double crochet of each shell, and as you can see, it gives it like a 3D look. So I'm going to continue like this until I come here to the bottom. Remember, one front post single crochet for each double crochet of each fan. I finished making the third row of the second front panel. Now here at the end, I did a single crochet on top of the last stitch, cut my yarn and passed my yarn through this last loop, and this part here is done, and this is how it looks. Now what I did here is I went and attached my buttons. These buttons are 13mm size, and I'm using 5. You can also use 12, 13, or even 15mm size buttons, depending on the size that you're making and the hook size that you're going to use. What I did here for my buttonholes is I just went in between the double crochets of the shell here and just inserted my buttons through there. Right there. You can also insert your buttons through this space that was created when we did the 5 double crochets. You can do it either way, like this. Just make sure that whatever buttons you're going to use fit through either this hole or in between the double crochets here of the shell. I'm doing it like this, where I go through the middle of the shell. Now what we're going to do next is the sleeves. I already did this side, so we're going to go here to the right side with the sweater facing me, and I'm going to show you how to make the sleeves. When you have to do this side, you're going to do it exactly in the same way. So here to begin, I'm going to continue with the same pattern so that it looks the same here throughout. You can also just go in the round, that would be up to you. I'm going to be turning for every row. So here to begin, right in the center under the sleeve, we have these 4 chains that we added. In the next row, the second row, we added 8 double crochets here under the sleeve. So we have 2, 4, 6, 8. So in the middle of these 8 double crochets, insert your hook right there and grab a loop. Bring it through. Chain 2, and right in the center make a double crochet. Now the 2 chains will never count as a stitch. Now this first row for this sleeve is going to be worked on the wrong side, So now what I'm going to do next is, so that there is no gap between this first double crochet and this first double crochet out of the 30 that we left for the sleeve, I'm going to double crochet together here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip these 4 double crochets and into the next space, yarn over first, insert your hook, grab a loop, take 2 loops off, leave 2 loops, yarn over, go into this double crochet. This is the last double crochet that we did when we separated the sleeves. Insert your hook into that space, grab a loop, take 2 loops off, 3 loops on the hook, close. So here we did double crochet 2 together so that there's no gap. Now I can continue around the sleeve and work 1 double crochet for each one of these 30 double crochets that we left around the sleeve. So continue like this, making 1 double crochet for each one of the stitches for the sleeve. I will meet you right here. This is the last double crochet to show you how we're going to finish this first row for the first sleeve. I'm here at the end of this first row for the first sleeve. Now here's the last double crochet out of the 30 that we had for the sleeve. I have a total of 32 double crochets up to here, including this double crochet that we did in the center and then the double crochet 2 together that we did here before we started the sleeve. Now here at the end, I'm going to do the same thing I did here, the double crochet 2 together. So to begin, I'm going to yarn over, insert your hook into this space. This is the last double crochet that we did before dividing the sleeve. Now take 2 loops off, leave 2 loops on the hook, yarn over, go in between. Here we have these 4 double crochets, so go in between these 2, grab a loop, take 2 loops off, 3 loops on the hook, close. There's that double crochet 2 together. So now I have 33 stitches, not counting the 2 chains. To finish, always go on top of the first stitch and join with a slip stitch. And this is how I finished the first row with a total of 33 double crochets. From here on, I'm going to continue with these 33 stitches. I don't need to decrease. I don't need to add any more stitches for the size that I'm making. If you want to make your sleeve wider, then you can always add more stitches right here under the sleeve. That would be up to you. Or if you want to decrease, then in this next row, row 2, you would do a couple decreases like double crochet 2 together at the beginning, and that'll take off 1 stitch, and double crochet 2 together at the end, and that'll take off 2 stitches at the end of that row. I don't need to do that, so I'm just going to continue here with the second row. So chain 2 and turn. Here for the sleeves, we're always going to be turning for every row. For the second row, beginning into this first double crochet right on top, make a double crochet. And all you're going to do now is just make 1 double crochet for each stitch all around the sleeve. At the end of this second row, you're going to have 33 double crochets. Continue, finish this second row. I'll meet you at the end. I'm here at the end of this second row. The second row is being worked on the right side. The first row was worked on the wrong side. So here to finish at the end, don't forget to make your last double crochet into the last stitch. Make sure you count your stitches to make sure that you always end with 33 double crochets, not including the 2 chains. And to finish, you always go on top of the first double crochet, not into the chain space, but on top of the first double crochet, and you join with a slip stitch. And this is how I finished the second row with a total of 33 double crochets. Now for row 3, chain 2 and turn. Row 3 will be worked from the wrong side. Now beginning into the next double crochet, make a double crochet and 1 double crochet into the next 32 stitches, so that when you finish this row, you have 33 double crochets. And this is how we're going to continue all around, just making 1 double crochet for each stitch. At the end of each row, you're always going to have 33 double crochets, and you're always going to turn. To finish the row, go on top of the first stitch, join with a slip stitch, and then repeat the same thing. We're going to do this for a total of 15 rows. So continue, finish these rows, and then I'll come back and show you how to make the cuff. I finished making these 15 rows for the sleeve. We have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15. Row 15 was worked on the wrong side. As it is, it's measuring from under the sleeve to the end here. It's measuring about 15 centimeters, which is about 6 inches. Now we're going to make the cuff. So for row 1 of the cuff, we're going to chain 1 and turn. So I finished row 15 on the wrong side, chain 1 and turn. Now here to begin, beginning with this first double crochet, make a front post half double crochet. The next one, a back post half double crochet. Next one, front post half double crochet, back post half double crochet, and so on. This is how I'm going to work the cuff. Now if you have a hard time making front post and back post half double crochets, then again you can always make 2 or 3 rows of single crochets, or even 1 or 2 rows of half double crochets. It's going to look different, but it should still look nice, so that would be up to you. I'm going to continue like this, alternating between front post and back post half double crochets. Now to finish this first row, you're going to go here on top of the first stitch, join with a slip stitch, chain 1, and then for row 2 and 3 repeat the same thing. Make front post and back post half double crochets all around. When the cuff is done, this is how it's going to look. So finish these 3 rows, and then I'll come back and show you the finished sweater. I finished making the cuff. Here at the end of the 3rd row, I just joined to the beginning with a slip stitch, cut my yarn, and passed my yarn through that last loop. I already hid all my ends. Now the sleeve is all done. When you do this other side, you're going to do it exactly in the same way how I showed you here with the first sleeve. So this little sweater is all done, and this is how it looks. Now let me give you the finished measurement, but first let me show you the back side. Here's the back side. The measurements. The total length of the sleeve from the top of the neckline to the end of the cuff, it's measuring about 28 centimeters, which is about 11 inches. From under the sleeve to the end of the cuff, it's measuring about 16.5 centimeters, which is about 6.5 inches. Now the width of the sleeve, just the top, it's about 9 centimeters, which is about 3.5 inches. Now this measurement here, right across, it's measuring about 13.5 centimeters, which is about 5.25 inches. The total length from the top of the shoulder to the end here of the hem, it's measuring about 28 centimeters, which is about 11 inches. Now the chest measurement, just the top, it's measuring about 24 centimeters, which is about 9.5 inches. So based on these measurements, this little sweater is for girls and boys between 3 and 6 months old. Now you can easily make it smaller or bigger. I'd say from a newborn size and up to 12 to 24 months. In the information box below, I'll go ahead and leave you some information on how you can easily make it smaller or bigger, so be sure to check that out. And as always, if you prefer a written pattern, check out my Etsy shop. I'll leave the link to my Etsy shop up here on the right hand side and in the information box below. Also, make sure to comment and let me know if you want me to show you how to make the matching little pins or a matching little hat. Although I do have lots of tutorials with the same stitch pattern. I have little pins, I have hats, and I have a pair of overalls that you can make to match if you want to go ahead and do that. I'll go ahead and leave the link to those tutorials in the information box below. Now, as far as buttons, I used a total of 5 buttons, and these are 13 millimeter size. Depending on the size hook that you're using, you can also use 13, 14, 15, or even 16 millimeter size. Just make sure that it fits through the middle here of the shells that we did on this side. For boys, I explained already what you need to do in the tutorial, so make sure to do that. Now, as far as buttonholes, I'm using the space in between the double crochets here that create the little shell as my buttonholes. You can also make your front panels in the same way how I showed you here with the first front panel if you don't want to bother with the shells. Okay, so this was today's tutorial. I hope you like it. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time.